Top of the ninth inning, Phillies Twins tied up 4-4. Join us now on the PHLY Phillies postgame show. Hello, everybody out there. Welcome into the soon-to-be, hopefully, Phillies victory post-game show. Jamie Lynch, Renee Washington, Tyler Zulli in with you here as Bryce Harper grounds out to second base for the second. That's the second out of the inning, right? Oh, no, that was third. All right, we're heading to the bottom ninth, Renee. The Twins have a chance to win it at home. We'll get into all the details of this game, but about 2 innings ago, I did not think we would be in a situation where we weren't talking about a surefire Phillies victory. This kind of sucks.
Deja vu, unfortunately. We just had this happen where we were heading into the bottom of the ninth and the Phillies were tied up. Not a great return from the All-Star break. And you know what? Every day I know we are all sprinkling our positive spins on everything, but here we are yet again. Looking at another situation, it's either going to extra innings, which would be great now, which means we get more time on the show. Now I want to be on the show with you guys through the extra innings and not a situation of a loss. But, man, the Phillies are in a rut right now, that's for sure. It is the time of the year for that, to get it all out. And I know we keep trying to say that, but, like, okay, I'm getting a little tired of saying the Phillies are in a rut, and it's going to be helpful in the long run. They're going to work through this. Here we are, still working through this. Everything's fine. This is fine. Cue the burning house emoji in the GIF. Like, this is totally fine. Here we are.
I think if you had to point the finger and the biggest blame game right now in this, I would say it's not Brandon Marsh, although he should have caught that ball. Orion Kerkering was kind of disastrous coming into a big spot there. That being said, Brandon Marsh absolutely needs to catch that ball. That won't be scored in error, but kind of should have been a routine play for a left fielder. I think maybe he's not 100% healthy and feeling well. I think part of it was he sensed the wall coming there and maybe kind of panicked because of the elbow. It was a disaster, though.
It was. I know Frank Barber in the chat was mentioning that, too, that Marsh needs to make that catch. It's not good to see him hesitantly like tiptoeing towards the wall. You gotta lay all out to make that catch. And if he is dealing with any sort of soreness in that elbow still, unfortunately, like we talked about the Ranger, like we talked about every injury, you're now in your own head. And you're probably, instead of just making that play and running, we've seen him make that play so many times. Turn, run, he's feeling good. He's, everyone's cheering for him. That was like a very un-Brandon Marsh like situation. And so the initial thought I have, because I feel like consistently with everybody with the Phillies, when in doubt, there's an injury that we don't know about. I like that rhyme. That's what I did there.
Yeah. It's very impressive.
Now we know about Brandon Marsh's injury, but I think maybe could be more. Thanks, JB. There could be more to it than being let on. Because it's.
But then he shouldn't be out there.
Then he shouldn't be out. Exactly.
If he's at the point where he's hesitant near a wall because his elbow's killing him,
right?
Like maybe don't go out there. Would you like some good news? As Gregory Soto is on the mound here for the Phillies.
Our closer. Gregory Soto?
He is certainly, I think, moving up Rob Thompson's depth chart a little bit here.
Yeah, Rob was talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, he's been thrown into higher and higher leverage situations recently. And this is a big one here in the bottom of the ninth. But no, it is not Gregory Soto related.
Oh?
The Braves lost.
5 in a row for the Braves they've now lost. So even though the Phillies are in a rut, the Braves are on a 5-game winless skid.
So thank you, Cincinnati.
Great news. That is great news.
You weirdos who eat chili on spaghetti. Thank you for your contributions to the NL East standings today.
We appreciate you because the Phillies.
Have you ever done Cincinnati?
I actually have not.
It's one of the few cities I haven't done. They were one of the.
It's on my list.
During my Sunday Night Football days on the road, I did most NFL cities. Cincy was one of the few I didn't get to, so I never got to try the famous chili over spaghetti.
I feel like it could be
which
decent.
is so weird.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure it's fine. It's
I love chili, and actually, I feel like how's it any different than like beef or burger?
It's close
over
to
spaghetti?
like a bolognese, so like I'm sure it's fine.
Exactly. Like I literally love.
I don't know if it's something I would
chili,
ever crave.
And I feel like chili's such a nice warm dish.
Well, it's chili's chili's not a summertime.
No,
that's a
not
fall
unless you want like
item.
bubble guts or to be sweating or something.
Soto just threw a wild pitch.
Well, I was gonna say some positive about Soto.
The go-ahead runner in second base with no outs.
Because Rob Thompson was talking yesterday about how he's, giving Gregory Soto these opportunities. Obviously, we know the Phillies are looking to make some tweaks in the bullpen with Jose Alvarado's numbers and. Yeah, so I definitely.
We're just gonna flip-flop what I pointed to you.
Okay, that's all. Yeah, I remember that.
But yeah, as he's been moving up the depth chart here, in true Gregory Soto, wow, this guy looks like he could be great fashion. Then goes and throws a wild pitch and gets the game-winning runner on second base for free. Not ideal. Now he's on third with one out. So Gregory Soto's got to get a big K here.
So
what's your confidence level, Tyler?
It's not high, but
-1,000.
I will tell you this. I think it's unorthodox, but I think the situation may call for it. At this point, I might walk the bases loaded.
Well, I mean, are you playing for the double play ball?
Yeah, you have to. Right, so it's just a runner in third currently, correct?
Yeah.
So I would walk back-to-back hitters.
Oh, you're saying double play at all bases?
Yeah, I would walk back-to-back hitters.
I might walk one. That is certainly unorthodox to go two.
Because if you walk one, even if you try to set up a double play, that runner's going to score on.
Well, that run's irrelevant.
It's the game-winning run. I'm talking about the runner on third. It's the game-winning run.
Yeah. I'm saying the guy on first. So just walk one runner and get the double play ball set up.
Oh, there was a sack bunt involved.
Yes.
I didn't even. Okay. Yeah.
That makes one out now.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why I was like, no, don't give them more runners than they need.
Well, I guess it really, I mean, still, you would walk two to create a force at any base. It's not really about the double play. It's about creating the force at any base.
That would be certainly unorthodox. Have you seen anybody do that?
I mean,
probably not a lot of managers that got the balls to do that.
I think
Soto's throwing all over the place.
Yeah,
the
he's
chat's
kind of
going
wild.
crazy.
As soon as things started looking good.
I agree with you, Jim, Nikki, Greg. Like the control, Frank is all over the place.
See now. It's probably too late.
Like I said, it's weird to consider, but really all you're doing is setting up a force out.
It's 2-1 count right now.
This is probably
I would walk him right here.
It's an intentional walk here.
If he throws a ball here, just walk him.
That's what I'm saying. So you're probably not.
All right, 2-2.
You're probably not going to throw a ton of strikes if you are in that mindset.
But inverse of that, if he gets a K here,
well then it changes the entire complex.
It changes everything. Right. So at this point, he's got to go for it.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, Gregory.
He's got to do it.
It's really just about, do you feel more at that point, it's what matchup do you want? If you have two outs, it's what matchup do you want?
Well, Rob Thompson said that Soto's been throwing the ball well. He's going to give him these opportunities, and see if he's got the capability to be that high leverage closer type of a role for the bullpen. He said he's got confidence in Hoffman, but now it's trying to see if Soto can handle it.
Man, he was real close to hitting him on the hand right there.
Well.
He's lucky he got a strike on that.
I don't know.
Come on, get him out, Gregory.
This is nerve-wracking. He's been pitching well.
He has been. Well, that's a strike, and that's the game.
Oh, no.
Phillies lose 5-4 on a infield, not even hit. An infield advance of the runner that will be scored a fielder's choice, I'm sure. That sucked. That absolutely sucked. So if you're just joining us, welcome in. It's officially the post-game show now as the Phillies go down 5-4 to the Minnesota Twins. Max Kepler gets the game-winning RBI, and he gets the daycare treatment from his teammates as they swarm him. That sucks. Yeah, that's not a fun way to lose a game because you're up 4-1. What was that, the seventh inning? Going into the seventh. Aaron Nola has a gem of a game. Orion Kerkering came in and basically screwed you today.
Yeah.
Not a lot you can do about it.
You give up 3 runs in the 7th. And we've been talking a lot about the starting pitching. And you know what? Hats off to Ranger, Zach, Aaron. This series was not on them. You look at the bullpen struggles, but also you can even point to the offensive struggles without a doubt as well. Because, yes, the Phillies scored 4 runs today. But as we've talked about, the team has gone through some major slumps. And you can look from Kyle Schwarber all the way through. The same thing with the bullpen. But there's definitely individuals you can look at today that's like Brandon Marsh has to make that catch. Orion Kerkering's got to get in and out of that inning.
I mean, Orion was bad, like undoubtedly, but like if Brandon Marsh just simply catches a ball, he catches 99.8 times out of 100. The Phillies win the game. So that's a brutal loss today. There's no way to sugarcoat that one. It's certainly not the end of the world. Thank you, Cincinnati Reds, for beating the Braves. But you had an opportunity to steal a series on the road versus a pretty decent team in the heart of this really tough part of the schedule. And now you have a really good Guardians team coming up. And then you have to play in Seattle, which is a tough place to play. And then you get the Dodgers again.
Coming up.
Like this series win would have counted for a little bit of something. So we'll get into all the nitty-gritty of the game, but the initial reaction there is Brandon Marsh and Orion Kerkering cost you today. Aaron Nola was spectacular. We'll get into some of the numbers with him. Schwarber came up with a big hit. We'll get into all that stuff, but Orion and Marsh,
yeah, because
stinks.
it just sucks. You can look and pinpoint specific parts of the game that if you can get out of that situation, you win the game, honestly. And the unfortunate part is we've been seeing consistently. So on the one side, the positive that we had been seeing is every game, it was a different Philly that was helping the team win. Lately, it's been a different Philly that's helping the team lose. Yeah. And I'm not really enjoying that. It's been a different guy every day that's like making, and the common theme is that we keep saying like, oh, that's not characteristic of them. That's not like them. That's not like them. So many uncharacteristic plays that we've been seeing of the guys from late. And, you know, yes, you can attribute it to so many things, but ultimately, as you mentioned, as you're closing out the month of July, you have a number of road series coming up. You got to find ways to grind out these wins, because now that's 3 straight series from the A series before the All-Star break to Pittsburgh to now Minnesota. You lose 3 series in a row. You go all 3 series losing game 1. You go each of those series with the offense going cold without producing and scoring, bullpen struggling. Like, these are things that, as much as we talk about the contagious atmosphere of the high energy and the vibes, okay, you don't want this to become contagious either. So with the trade deadline coming up, honestly, it feels like it's right on time. We could not have asked for, like, I think a better timing for a rut to happen. Because this could be that spark of, like, bringing in someone new, adding some pieces. And as everybody keeps talking about, now this forces our hand. The Phillies need to and will have to make moves before the trade deadline.
Yeah, I had a tweet last night, and I was like, basically, you know, really shows the veteran leadership of this group to go into an offensive slump right before the trade deadline to broadcast to Dave Dombrowski.
Yeah, like, how nice of them.
Yeah, like, I think they're taking one for the team here.
Super
and
thoughtful.
They're saying, like, all right, guys, let's not score too many runs this week. Let's show them that we get, like, barely any offensive production. And I know Brandon Marsh's sac fly last night from left field and center field, kind of offensively killing us. Second baseman, kind of offensively killing us.
Yeah.
At least you have a Stott platoon option if things get really bad before the playoffs. Left field and center field, there is no clear option. You know, the trade deadline is what, 6 days or 5 days?
You're now 6 days away.
6 days away.
Where's your counter on your app?
It's on my phone, which is in the pocket. And I don't want to go into my pockets because there's a lot of pocket ball, false claims getting thrown my way this week on our Bet365 videos. So I can't go into my pockets.
Get out of your pockets, JD.
Yeah. But I do think, like, this past week, even into that A series, Dombrowski and Fold might be thinking a little bit more about, that right-handed offensive upgrade.
I think you have to. I mean, ultimately, the biggest thing that this rut has forced is that there's no way to sugarcoat. You're dying. Give him a break, Tyler. Give him a break here. The biggest thing for this rut that we can take away from this is, one, Trey Turner. He's been a positive. I tweeted out, like, he's been one of the positive, consistent pieces for the Phillies. But also that this also makes the Phillies have to make a move. Had they gone into this trade deadline, scoring runs, bullpen looking sharp, maybe some little bumps here and there, I think that you can justify. Don't worry, guys. Jamie's currently drinking water. Thank you for checking on him. He's okay. You can justify, bless you, Tyler. Like, what's happening around me?
What are you doing?
First of all, you're sneezing, you're coughing, send help. I'm blinking twice, guys. Send help. But this absolutely makes us all okay. Because listen, here's the other thing. A lot of you guys are in the chat saying, Yovo's got to go. Brandon Marsh is struggling. Jose is struggling. Had they not had this big of a fall from grace, a lot of you guys would have been ready to burn down Citizens Bank Park if somebody gets traded or moved or a prospect gets moved. Now, I guarantee you people are going to be excited if the Phillies move a prospect or someone like Johan Rojas because you understand the need for it. So, yes, it's frustrating as hell right now to see that the Phillies come out of the All-Star break. We kept saying the break was going to be that time to reset. There's been no reset. They look worse in a lot of aspects. But 6 days, guys, 6 days. So everybody's really concerned about you, though, Jamie. And Frank has a great question that the people deserve an answer to. Who has choked worse today, Jamie or the Phillies?
I'm going to go with the Phillies.
I don't know. That was a pretty...
Yeah, I got
You're like reddish and stuff, too.
I had
Your
like an
color's coming
allergy
back.
outbreak the other day, and ever since I've had this like little scratch on my
this
throat.
dude keeps calling it allergies. At some point, he's going to be like, oh, yeah, by the way, I've been sick for 4 weeks.
I have like bronchitis.
I feel great. It's just this annoying
I feel
itch.
great.
What do they call that little...
eyes drooping,
I call
snotting.
it the ball bag to my wife in the back
Excuse
of your throat.
The uvula?
Yes, that. And she hates when I call it the ball bag. That's why I raised that point.
I wonder why.
But it's, that's where the scratch has been. So it's driving me nuts. But yes, the reality is since June 1st, the Phillies are 24-20.
Yeah.
A lot of that has to do with injuries. A lot of that has to do with Ranger and Zach kind of regression during that period. Some of that has been unlucky. You know, we talked about in the beginning of the year how like the Phillies were lucky at times and balls were finding holes. Now some of the other teams seem to be finding the holes versus the Phillies.
Stop saying holes.
Get your mind out of the gutter, Renee. We're talking baseball.
Ball bags. You go into like balls and holes.
That was a whole nother statement ago.
I know.
So some of it is injury, some of it is pitching regression, some of it is luck. There's a lot of reasons for it. I'm not overly worried or anything. You're still above 500 during all those things kind of happening. So like that's a positive. I'd rather have the struggles now, right before the trade deadline, than say in late August, early September. If Zach and Ranger fell apart in early September, all of a sudden you're going like, oh shit, are they really what we thought they were?
Yep.
Right now the struggles happen. You go, all right, Ranger's going through a dead arm period. He's got a bad back. Zach just needs a little bit of rest, yada, yada, yada. It's a good time for it to happen is my point.
Honestly, the other thing that has kept me positive, guys, and I'm trying here, I'm really trying to be positive, Patty, is when you look at each of the individual guys that are struggling, there are very obvious reasons why they're struggling. I know we'll talk about it as the show progresses. You look at like Ranger and Jose, for instance, they're pitching more innings in this stretch of the season than they've pitched like their entire career in a season. You look at Orion. You could point to the fact this is his first full season in the majors. Like there's actual reasoning behind each of them. Even a Brandon Marsh, for as frustrated as we were today to make that catch, he's dealing with the left elbow soreness, but also more importantly, you got to think that Brandon Marsh, as much as he's a positive, upbeat guy, is dealing with some sort of struggles around the platoon situation of like your job, you're not doing good enough. You're not able to hit against righties and lefties the same way. And so the Phillies are desperately looking to platoon and find your better half. Like all of these things you can point to. It's not random. It's not like, oh, all of a sudden someone's just struggling. Zach, back injury. Ranger, back injury. Like it's legitimate reasons. And these are things that are fixable. Jose is the only one because we're not positive. But again, Jose is one that's pitched more innings almost already at this juncture of the season than an entire season in the past. So it's valid reasons. It's just frustrating. But to your point, and like we keep stressing, they were going to struggle at some point. Would you guys rather them have struggled and choked in September versus in late July?
Yeah, I'm now at the point with the trade deadline so close and, probably more problems than we would have guessed 2 months ago. That if they don't make a substantial outfield upgrade, I'm going to be kind of pissed off.
So now you're more on the outfield train.
I want both. I think the bullpen's a given. What level you get in the bullpen, from a Tanner Scott to a lower level guy, there's Pete Fairbanks out there. There's always a lot of bullpen arms available. I think the outfield needs a significant upgrade.
Yeah.
But Jamie, Renee and I talked about this the other day. Like, regardless of how your bullpen is structured, good playoff contending World Series aspiration type teams.
Everybody adds a bullpen.
Everybody adds a bullpen.
That's a standard.
Yeah.
So that's happening.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Whether it's Tanner Scott or a lower level guy, they're going to add 100% a bullpen arm.
Definitely.
Outfield, you're kind of getting nothing from 2/3 of your outfield.
Yeah, I think
Nick
it's the
Castellanos, we'll
outfield
get
for
into,
me.
has turned a corner and he is officially hot. But center and left fielder, I mean, Marsh is unplayable versus lefties.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for us, the Atlanta Braves have a pretty good left-handed pitcher. Actually, 2 of them when Fried gets back from the IL. That's something you have to consider. Is Weston Wilson ready to step in and platoon with him? No. You're on the doorstep of a World Series. Stop clutching at pearls about prospects.
Let them go.
And go win a World Series. I was talking about this in our Discord channel last night. And by the way, if you want to get access to our Discord, you can become a diehard here at PHLY. And we'd appreciate you, and I'll send you love letters in the mail. This is it. This is the year. Because when you look at the landscape of Major League Baseball, the Orioles are a great team. No doubt about it. But they're young. They're probably not. They're probably at that 2007 Phillies level where they're going to get in, make a little bit of noise.
It's a learning.
Put a notch in their belt, and then they'll be ready to win after that. The Yankees are falling apart. The Braves and the Dodgers, are hanging through some really tough injuries, but they're having really bad injuries. It is there for the taking this year.
Yeah.
So, I just don't understand why you would be hesitant about going for it.
And also, what makes it worse is the bar continues to rise with the Phillies, and you have had such a remarkable start to the season. Individual stats. How many times are we talking about this is the first time it's the start of the modern era? This is the first time since stat tracking. This is the first time. There are so many records that have been set and broken, and most importantly, this team to be the best in baseball, to be the first to 60 wins, to have all these. I mean, we even talked about it at the All-Star break. The list of teams that have won more than 60 games before the All-Star break are very low. It's under 10 teams. The Phillies have cemented themselves in conversations as some of the best teams, and those teams have at least gone on to the World Series. If not winning it, got into the World Series. If the Phillies have a huge fall and do not reach the expectations of, I'm sure I don't know what everybody's expectations are. Obviously, winning a World Series is the top, but at least you got to get there. Then absolutely, this is going to be a failure of a season, and that you can't drop this season.
When I experience tough losses, Renee, sometimes my sweet tooth comes calling.
Yeah,
and I just go, I need some sympathy, like peach rings or candy or maybe Starlight Mints or gummy butterflies or sour worms. Where do I go to get that fix? That's Rite Aid Market and their ELO Market. They have a line at Rite Aid that includes candy, snacks, and pantry items exclusively at Rite Aid. They were kind enough to send us a big old box, and I ate them up. And I know you and your sweet tooth, you were eyeing those up too. They have nuts and trail mixes packed with vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, fiber, and protein. Me and the girls did a road trip last week on vacation. You got to get the snacks for the car and get yourself right. They got popcorn, buttery, sweet and salty, cheddar, and sea salt. My wife is a beef jerky-aholic. And we know where to get our beef jerky. That's at Rite Aid. They got granola bars, pantry staples like honey and seasoning. They have more than you would imagine at Rite Aid, right there conveniently for you. Snack Attack, get ELO Market delivered same day or buy online. Pick up in store. Just go to riteaid.com/shop to order.
Well, first of all, make sure you have that Rite Aid. You take care of your teeth and brush them so you don't have cavities.
Don't forget to floss. My dentist yelled at me about flossing.
But also,
Rite Aid's got the plackers. I'm not a around the finger.
No,
old school
that's
guy.
so old school.
Yeah,
get the
why
flossers.
do you want to shove your hand in your mouth to get your back?
Also,
molar?
it's just kind of gross.
Yeah,
it's super gross. Get the flossers.
Yeah, get the
Rite Aid
plackers.
has flossers.
Yeah, of course.
Get on in there because it's all about the small wins. And right now, the Phillies are not winning as much, but you can win with our friends over at Bet Parks Casino. Parks Casino is how you win. It's perfect if you want to go out after work, get together with your colleagues. Maybe it's a date night, girls' night, fellas' night out. You can do all that. Fellas' night. You can do all that at Bet Parks Casino. You can also have a chance to sip on some delicious, refreshing drinks. Take advantage of the warm weather, the good vibes. It's all excitement and fun at Parks Casino. And at Parks Casino, which is our casino of choice, they now are offering also an epic $5 happy hour. Great food and drinks
in this
every
economy?
Wednesday through every every Wednesday through Sunday. It's not just sips or one day of the week. Wednesday through Sunday. Take advantage of their $5 happy hour at the Liberty Bell Gastropub. They also have a lot of options for you there. You get $5 drafts of Victory Seasonal, Parks Pills. You can get the $5 glasses of some Cabernet, or just maybe a twisted tea, a frozen whiskey, Arnold, Palmer, delicious. And then they also have their delicious food. This sounds so good. $5 small plates of their braised short rib sliders, hot honey chicken sliders, rotisserie chicken flatbreads. All this is new at Parks Casino's epic $5 happy hours. It's happening right now. Summer is here, guys. Take advantage. All roads lead to Parks Casino, the #1 casino in in Pennsylvania. Not just Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. Parks Casino with 3,200 state-of-the-art slots, 115 live table games, the $5 happy hour deals, a beautiful poker room, plus a collection of incredible award-winning restaurants. Need I say more? Well, go check them out yourselves. You can even check them out for Joe Conklin's Comedy Night with the headliner Joe Bartnick on Thursday, June 20th. That passed. That already happened. But maybe you want to be ready for the next one that's going to happen, because they have a lot of great events coming, including Tiffany Haddish this September on the 27th. So tickets are available online at parkscasino.com. Maybe you missed Joe in June, but you don't want to miss Tiffany in September. Visit parkscasino.com. You've got to be 21 or older. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Okay. To reset. I don't want to be overly negative, because the Phillies do have the best record in baseball.
Yeah, and there's a lot in the comments right now.
And look, they should have won the series today. It's one game out of 162. This shit happens. There are some guys that give you a little bit. Mickey Durkin in our Discord channel said, Orion's been giving me agita lately.
Like agita.
Yeah. Too much red tomato sauce there, Mickey.
We don't want
back
agita.
off. A couple guys are going through it. Gregory Soto's stock was rising, and then today kind of plateaued or started going down again. Marsh has been struggling. Rojas is what he is. Like, I know he doesn't have a full season of at-bats yet, yada, yada, yada. He concerns me. Things are good. It's not sky is falling by any means, but I am at the point where go upgrade this team.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do. It's not going to cost you Mick Gable and Andrew Painter and Justin Cross. Well, maybe Justin Crossover if you go get Lou Bob or Randy. But, like, it's not going to cost you all. Everybody kind of overinflates what MLB trades are. You know what I mean? When you go back and look at some trades, it's not always like your top three. Like, you're not losing your top three prospects. You're not losing 3 out of your top 5 prospects. I mean, you're talking about prospects. Like, is a Starlin Cava going to have to be offered up? Yeah, probably. So what? Like, when I went back, I was doing some MLB trade deadline research last night, and I was just, like, looking at the past couple years at, some of the bigger trades and what kind of prospects were going in return. The majority of these prospects that get traded, I haven't heard of as quality major league players. Like, there's probably, I'm just guessing here, 25 to 30% at best hit rate on traded prospects. At best. It's really hard to become a quality everyday Major League Baseball player. And prospects, it's sure thing over prospects every time. Tyler's heard me talk about this for a decade. I get real sick and irritated by the narratives every MLB trade deadline. When you're on the doorstep of a World Series with this core at their age, and they've been so close, if Dombrowski and Fold don't go for it, I am going to be, quite honestly, offended.
Yeah.
Like, go for, like, what are you waiting? Dave's going to go to Nashville when they get their expansion team. He's gone for it before. I know he's gone for it in the offseason, and they yada, yada, yada. All these baseball people will tell you, you're asking too. No, I'm not. You're on the doorstep of a World Series title. Yeah. You've been close twice. You can smell it. You can taste it. Go get Randy Arozarena. Yeah. Go get a quality bullpen arm to add to this mix, and you're undeniably the best team in baseball. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I beg somebody to ask or to prove to me why you shouldn't go for it. Like, it's that simple. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I know Mickey Durkin in the chat is saying how he needs to go get a drink, a nice hard and stiff drink. Listen, this is also a good chance. Let's vent together, because there are some frustrations. There's some areas that definitely need fixing and need adding. let us know in the chat your thoughts. I know in the chat earlier it was rattling off with some questions and thoughts around like a Scott Kingery and different names.
No, God, no. Get out of here. Who said that?
Gregory Soto.
Who said that? Who said jetpacks?
I don't remember.
No, jetpacks is regret. He's come back to earth even in AAA. No, God, no.
I know Sean Komp's even saying like you're done with Stott, play Sosa. Like there's a lot of questions. I feel like this is what losing does. This is what my biggest pet peeve is. Losing just increases the amount of questions that you have, but it also exposes you a little bit. Like, let's be honest, the Phillies are getting exposed, and it started before the All-Star break, but we all made the excuse, it's the All-Star break, they're all mentally checked out. But even since against the Pittsburgh Pirates and now against the Minnesota Twins, 2 series you should win. You didn't face Paul Skeens.
Both, yeah.
You didn't you're facing 2 teams that are absolutely beatable. And so for the Phillies to go out there and you have the second base struggles of Bryson Stott, who did at least get a couple of hits, and we saw some good plays from him this series, he hasn't been consistent enough. You see Brandon Marsh, who's dealing with an elbow injury, but also just not an everyday left fielder. You also have, in general, the outfield production is not there. And even though the Phillies, on a positive side, have won 26 consecutive games when their starter goes 7+ innings, which is the second longest streak in baseball history. What about when you have to rely on the bullpen? Because we have been seeing Jeff Hoffman's been doing well. Matt Strom's been doing well. But other than that, Orion Kerkering, Jose Alvarado,
he's had some hiccups.
Gregory Soto, they've had their hiccups. And the thing is, we expected this. Like, I know we said this yesterday. Nothing that the Phillies are struggling with surprises me. We knew injuries were going to happen. We knew that some of these hot starts were going to hit a wall. We knew at some point there was going to be a regression. So with all this being said, to me, if you don't push all in, it's cocky. It's you being complacent because you cannot expect to just continue to run it back. I also think another part that we haven't talked about as much, how much of this is also the fact the Phillies are going through playing teams again, or just in general, you're into over 100 games this season. The playbook is out. I mean, it already was out because it's basically the same group. But the playbook is out on this team. The way that opponents are getting after our pitchers, our bullpen, the way that their pitchers are making adjustments to our guys, getting a lot of strikes, being able to pitch deeper in the game, you are seeing teams make adjustments to the Phillies, which is why I feel like now more than ever with the trade deadline, you've got to make a move to just add another layer, add something else, mix it up a little bit because this team, I'd say it's becoming a little bit predictable. Like today's game felt exactly like about 3 or 4 other games we've seen in the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
Like this team has hit a little bit of redundancy. They've hit a wall and you need to bring in someone. So if they don't push the chips in, to me, it's cocky of like, we've already won 60+ games. We can continue to win games. No, it's been proven that this team needs some extra pieces and you got to go after it for this win now team. Forget the prospects.
Yeah. I mean, like
there's no guarantee there. The guarantee is right now.
They're not getting any younger. Like this is, I can't really think of a more go for it team.
Right.
You know, like you've been close. You haven't had enough. To me, Randy Arozarena is becoming more and more like who I'm dreaming about at night. I'm sorry, Lou Bob, if you're watching. But like Randy Arozarena, Tyler brought it up the other day. It was the MLB postseason record for most bags in a playoff run.
Total bags, hits, home runs in one play. Now, granted, again, that was 4 years ago.
Sure.
But I think that there is merit to a guy who does have a track record of playoff success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
So, look, it's going to cost you something. It's not going to be cheap. We'll get into the rumors last night from John Morosi, which I think are quasi-crazy,
well,
to be honest with you.
Jamie, I think the crazy thing is I wish there was almost like a way to make it easier to figure out which targets and which guys are the best fit for the Phillies because there's so many names we've talked about and it's so hard. It's like you're hiring. Yeah. And the job hiring process is really tough.
To come by, yeah.
Candidates are tough to come by. And you want to find quality candidates. Well, it might be tough with the trade deadline coming up for the Phillies to figure out who they should go after, but it shouldn't be tough for you to figure out who to go after for your job. With our friends over at Indeed, they are driven by the search for better quality candidates. It's not about quantity. They don't want to just give you a whole bunch of candidates. They want to bring you the better matches. That's what they call them. It's not even just a search, it's a match. It's finding you somebody that's a good fit, that's ready now, that can come into your company and be a great addition to help. And when you're hiring, it's very overwhelming. As we're talking through what should the Phillies do, there are so many companies that have the same question. They need to fix some areas. They need to bring in a great candidate, but they don't know who to hire. Well, being that there are over 350 million global visitors each month on Indeed, according to their data, that are, they're taking care of that as a matching engine, finding those quality candidates. They have a great high volume of candidates coming in that they can pull from to allow you to be able to ditch the busy work and use Indeed for all the little things: scheduling, screening, messaging, getting in touch with those candidates and getting them hired and getting those quality candidates hired faster. Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality candidates as well. So you're getting quick and efficiency, and you're getting quality. We love all of that. So I've been on both sides of the hiring process with Indeed. It can be a lot, but today our listeners can take advantage of an opportunity to simplify the hiring process. Indeed does a great job, and on top of that, we're going to give you also a chance to get some job credits, because as listeners of the show today, you're going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast right here on PHLY Phillies podcast. Again, that's Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions do apply, but if you need to hire, you need Indeed.
When Brandon Marsh went to the left field wall for what seemed to be a quasi-routine pop-up that, I don't know, kind of cost the Phillies the game, my immediate thought was, oh man, there's some cold, delicious, refreshing Miller Lights in the fridge about 25 feet behind me. I should go get one, because damn, would that taste good right now. And that's what Miller Lite is. The original light beer since 1975, and to this day, it's still the best one. It's summer, and what you're looking for is not those heavy, caloric beers that weigh you down and make you sloggy at the beach, the pool, the mountains, the ball game, the golf course, whatever it may be. You want that cool, refreshing, less filling light beer, and Miller Lite is it. I am 1,000% back on the Miller Lite wagon after many years of drinking those highly caloric double IPAs. Nah, just give me the cold, delicious, refreshing, less filling, and as the TV commercial tells you, it's less filling and great taste. It's both, and it's because they keep it simple. It's undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories per 12 ounces. A light beer that tastes like light beer. What a novel idea. The original light beer since 1975. And you don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered directly to your door, just visit MillerLite.com/PHLY Phillies, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces, fewer calories and carbs than regular premium beer. All right, let's get into some of the positives from today, because it wasn't all negative.
No.
There was some positives. You mentioned it earlier. Trey Turner slugged his 10th home run in the month of July. Trey Turner is going to give Shohei Ohtani and Bryce Harper a serious run at MVP. He is that good this year. Your two highest paid guys, the $300 million men, Bryce Harper and Trey Turner, are phenomenal. Both of them are going to be probably top 4 in NL MVP finishing, and Trey Turner is having a hot month. He's as advertised. He is that good.
Yeah, I mean, even from his first at bat, he had a single his first at bat. He had that 425-foot home run that landed in the second deck that the camera person couldn't even find. You look at the numbers of Trey Turner this month of July, and it's crazy because he's now played in like over 25 games since returning from his injury. I think it's like 28 that he might be at now. And the way that he's returned after missing 6 weeks, I just cannot wrap my head around. There are so many players that would miss that amount of time with how strong he started the season and have a huge regression. And the fact that he's come back better to how he started off the season. I mean, you had a month of April where he had 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. He had a 361 batting average with a 411 OPP and a 496 slugging. And then came back, and June was good. June was very good. But then July, he's been lights out. He's now had 10 home runs in the month of July. His numbers are coming into today were a 353, 397, 750 split coming into today, and then just continue to elevate that some more. So, it's great to see how Trey Turner has returned. And honestly, with how bad the offense has been at times, him, Nick, Alec, there's been a couple guys that kind of I know I forget about because I'm so frustrated about the offense and the lack of production. But Trey's been the consistent threat. He's been the guy that's been helping them win the games they have won, and even just being in games like today, they're in that game, they take that 4-1 lead, it's Trey Turner. And so it's awesome to see how he's just emerging and staying within himself. He's just playing his role. He's just not overthinking things. And I wish he would get the other guys on that. We know maybe they need to talk to. He was one of the biggest advocates. We remember, was it earlier this season when he was injured? The guys were saying how he was helping them with their swing and their at bats. Maybe we got to get Coach Trey out there a little bit more. Maybe he's got to do a little bit more coaching and helping, because some guys could use some insight from Trey right now. They are struggling with their at-bats.
Yeah, he smoked that ball so hard today, the cameraman didn't know what happened. He went to another planet. Nobody even got a good look at that home run.
Still waiting to see that home run.
Yeah, he hit that one so hard. All right, a couple other positives, because we're not going to be all negative here. A couple other positives today. A little shout-out to Bryce Harper's defensive first base work. Mm-hmm. There was a double play ball at the end of the 6th inning. I believe it was the 6th, that Aaron Nola got.
Back when things were going well.
And he had a gorgeous backhanded dig. That was a really tough play with the runner bearing down on the bag. Quick shout out to Bryce Harper defensively. I think you said it before the season that he would be the best. Tyler, you want to look up real quick how him and Christian Walker are doing defensive rating wise? Because I'm curious. It was kind of, we talked about it. Like, all right, Christian Walker's like a freak in the field. Paul Goldschmidt is just kind of like a staple at first base. I kind of thought like Bryce had a chance to be the 3rd best first baseman. You were very high on the, no, he will be the best first baseman.
I was adamant.
I mean, we'll see what the numbers say. Him and Christian Walker, I think, are the 2 best defensive first basemen, in the NL. And maybe, he's probably already a top 5 first baseman in baseball defensively only. Which is wild to me, what a baseball player this guy is. Came up as a catcher, played right field, played some center field early in his career. Now he's playing exceptional first base. Mm-hmm. This guy's a freak.
Yeah, and exactly like Bob Wright is saying in the chat, you're right, Mr. Wright. That is something that you would think should give a leg up when it comes to like the MVP and overall.
Absolutely.
To someone like Ohtani's just a DH.
No,
like Bryce Harper's helping on both sides of the ball. His first base play has been phenomenal, and it does look so smooth. You forget that this is the first full season of Bryce Harper at first base, but that is the type of person and player that he is, which is why it's insane to me when you hear fans chanting things like overrated. Because how many players do you know that can move from the outfield to the infield, move from different positions, and you're doing that coming off of Tommy John surgery. Like, you're coming out of a major injury, and you're rehabbing to play a different position, and then you step in seamlessly last year and then continue that this year. And I know they were mentioning on one of the broadcasts, the guys were laughing at like how this spring training, Bryce was kind of like a rookie out there learning first base. Like, you could see he was just a sponge. He took it all in, and he's really done a good job of just being so steady. Like, that dig, you make a great example, but that dig is just like, how many guys have to go years to try to make a simple play like that? That's not a simple play at all, but to make it look routine. So Bryce Harper offensively has been, he's been over. We're not going to talk about that. But today was over. But you look overall defensively, he's lights out.
He's great.
Lights out.
Tyler, what's our nerd research department come up with over there?
If you're looking for outs above replacement at the first base position this year, Bryce Harper ranks 3rd with a 6 outs above replacement. Christian Walker is
first.
No surprise, number 1. Number 2, actually, is a guy that I think has almost gone under the radar defensively as a first baseman over the last couple of years. It's a guy you just saw today. Carlos Santana has been really good defensively.
Yeah, he's always been good.
He's at a 9 at outs above average. If you want to go towards runs prevented, Christian Walker is still first at 9. Carlos Santana is second with 7. Bryce Harper is tied with Nate Lowe of the Texas Rangers with 4 for 3rd.
Thank you, NRD, for the quick turnaround on
that. Has been an update from the NRD.
Carlos Santana, I like as a baseball player. I wish he would have been here during a more competitive time. He was here during some dark days, and that was not his fault. But I like that he was the veteran that flipped the tables over and smashed the video games and did all that. So Carlos Santana, I have no ill will towards you. All right, another guy that was really good today, because we're gonna throw some bouquets even in a loss. Alec Bohm got another double. Now, the Phillies notes on Twitter put this out. He has 35 doubles through 100 games. The only other Phillies to do that since 1900. Chase Utley in 2007 had 41 doubles through 100 games played. Chuck Klein in 1930 had 40 doubles through 100 games. Alec Bohm is surprising the hell out of everyone because he was so good. You just figured there was going to be a natural dip, a natural comeback to earth, a slump. He's been able to avoid these prolonged slumps. He gives you really good at-bats. You can kind of put him anywhere in the order, and he can do his job. He's having an absolutely phenomenal season.
Yeah, and I think he's another one that when you look at his production, it's not all home runs despite him being in the home run derby. You look at how he helps his offense, it's doubles, it's just picking out the pockets to be able to spray the ball into, and then also his play at third base. Like what I love most about how well Bryce is doing at first is that we don't have to see Alec at first, because I love what he brings at third base. Reed also anticipates really well and has talked about those two aspects of his game: cleaning up his third base play, minimizing mistakes, but then offensively being more than just a power hitter, but being able to be disciplined at the plate, keep innings alive, give good contact. And so Alec Bohm is like really surprisingly improving as one of those, he's progressing from the daycare. He's maturing in front of our own eyes. It's like we're watching him, graduate to the next level.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the biggest things, to be honest, that I like about his play is he's handling all this so well.
Oh, yeah.
Because to have you be top of the NL in doubles and be in the home run derby and an all-star for the first time and all these things, like it's so easy to let those things make you complacent or your game drop off. But no, Alec Bohm continues. He's very witty. He brings the personality, and he just continues to do what he does best.
Yeah.
Definitely been great to see.
All right. We will throw some bouquets at Aaron Nola in a second, but I think panic is hitting the streets some. Renee?
It's been there. You were on vacation last week, so you missed it. But it's been out in these streets. Panic's been wandering crazily. People are all over Twitter. They've been all over our chats.
So I'm just going to read this tweet I got on my account from a guy, Bailey Andrews. And I've gone back and forth with Bailey for years. He said, and he tends to be a pessimistic Philadelphia fan.
There's a lot of those PPs.
And I've gotten several tweets like this. There's been some panic in our Discord channel. There's been tweets like this. Typical Phillies baseball. They need 2 bullpen arms, 1 starting pitcher, 2 outfield bats, and a new manager. This team is cooked. Bailey and others that think this way, they most certainly do not need all of that. Do they need an outfield bat upgrade? Yes, they absolutely do. Should they add 1 more bullpen arm? Absolutely should. We'll get into the starting pitcher discussion. I do not believe they need one of those. No. A new manager? Are you nuts? Rob Thompson's had one of the best records ever in the franchise's history through however many games he's been manager. They do not need all of that. They have the best record in baseball. We're talking about improving, not tearing down. So everybody take a deep breath. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Listen, not only do we have the PPA around here that you have to watch out for with your cars, we also have the PPFs. Bailey, yes, Matt Deckard is a PPF. We have some really interesting Philly fans that are. I'm actually forgetting what the first P was. Oh, panicked.
Oh, panicking
Philly fans.
Okay.
Because it's not just the Phillies. It's Philly. It's those fans that notoriously are ready, like at the sight of, oh, the sun is out today. That means that we're going to lose in October. Yeah. Like, it's those panicking Phillies fans that are always looking for a reason to complain, be nervous, ready to throw the team away, ready to sell the team, whatever, fire this guy, fire this person, trade this person, DFA this person. And I get it. Whenever a loss happens, the first instinct is to go and hit that panic button, but resist the urge, guys. It is late July, and as we even said, like, the Braves just lost 5 games in a row. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying
the Yankees have lost like 14 of 20
It's better that the Phillies lost because the Braves lost, but it is. I mean, it's not like everybody else has been doing great. This is naturally what happens. It's the ebbs and flows of the season. So are there areas the Phillies need to add? Absolutely. Bullpen arm, always. Definitely in the outfield. I still would love a versatile outfield piece that can give you good at-bats. That's an area for need. But I think to try to peel back too many layers is messy. Even second base is difficult because for as much as we've been frustrated with Bryson Stott, you've got Edmundo Sosa. you don't want to tinker too much. There is such thing as making too many changes.
Sure.
So right now, they're not going to spend a lot of money because that requires you losing guys between prospects or even guys on the roster today. They have to make moves that allow them to bring in a couple without losing too much. And also it is midseason. You can't just go out and redo the entire roster, get rid of Rob. Like, you're not making those moves right now.
No. All right. Let's talk about the rumors that went out last night. Aaron Nola, by the way, was spectacular today.
Yeah.
Before we do that, let me just throw
let's give him some love because Aaron Nola gets a lot of heat too.
This was courtesy of Alex Carr on Twitter. Alex Carr MLB is his handle. Aaron Nola just concluded his 21st start of the season.
Aww.
He has allowed more than 3 runs in just 4 of those 21 starts. Tremendous year from Aaron Nola. He was great today. He got out of a jam late when his pitch count started getting high. He had, 68 pitches through like 5 innings. He was dealing today, and Aaron Nola was spectacular. For him to kind of get that loss sucks.
Yeah, and it's not his fault the team was 0-4 with runners in scoring position. It's not his fault the Phillies left guys stranded. Aaron did what he was supposed to do. And even we were talking about that 6th inning, and I know Matt Gelb had put out this nugget, but I saw it on Baseball Savant as well. 4 of the 5 fastest pitches that Aaron Nola threw today actually came in the 6th inning. You know, like you're finishing your outing of the day very strong. And for Aaron Nola overall, he's been another one that we've seen very up and down. And I think, honestly, one of the biggest positives of this series is you get Ranger and Zach back from their back pains. You get Aaron Nola back to looking a little bit more like himself because we know the starting pitching carried this team in the first part of the season. And you need it's bullpen, starting pitching, offensive production. Okay, the bullpen and the offensive production aren't what you want right now. A lot of guys stranded. A lot of ups and downs with the bullpen. But if they can get the starting pitching back on pace, going 6, 7, 8 innings into games, holding, teams scoreless, that is such a big boost. That is literally what helped them win games, and that's literally what helped them jump out to such a fast and hot start this season. So if nothing else, one thing I do love is that this weekend, it's Wednesday, this week so far, it feels like we're seeing the starting pitching come back to their form of what we expect them to be. You can't continue that superstar stretch all season. So with injuries nagging them and other things, you expected a dip, but it's good to see them kind of getting back. The confidence, you're leaving the mound with a smile. Your command is there. The velocity is there. You're throwing your arsenal of changeups and sinkers and sweepers. So Aaron Nola and the starting pitching, I feel like, I'm not going to say they're back, but they're like, bah. Like they're getting there. You like that?
Is it sheep?
I don't know. Sheep go bad. See,
what?
You just were ready to. My bad was okay.
No,
you come out with
solid.
like a
all right, let's talk
good.
about the rumor from John Morosi last night.
Spill the tea.
I don't understand this. You guys please weigh in. Tyler, I'd love to get your opinion on this. Last night, John Morosi puts out that the Phillies are considering some starting pitching help. The 2 names he mentioned, Jack Flaherty, who is having a resurgent year with the Detroit Tigers after signing a 1-year deal with them, and Garrett Crochet, who is probably the best starting pitcher on the trade market from the Chicago White Sox. Now, Garrett Crochet has pitched in the bullpen in the past. He is approaching a career high in innings, much like a Ranger Suarez. There is belief that he will be sent back to a bullpen perhaps by late August, early September to kind of load manage him. So if you were to bring in if Flaherty would straight up be a starting pitcher, he would not be a bullpen arm. Then you have to consider maybe, do you put like a Ranger in the bullpen? Do you put a Sanchez? Like, I don't know. It's just weird. Crochet at least makes a little bit more sense in that he's a starting pitcher that can go to the bullpen somewhat flawlessly. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I know Rangers struggled a little bit. Zach Wheeler's back. He had a tremendous outing last night. Aaron Nola gives me no concern. Christopher Sanchez has been wildly impressive this year. Taijuan Walker began his throwing program today. If Tyler Phillips can kind of hang tight with you here for a couple more weeks, you can stretch out to a 6-man rotation. I do not see the need to waste assets going after a starting pitcher. John Morosi isn't making this up. It's coming from somewhere. I don't really understand it.
is this the sign of what the future is to hold for Taijuan Walker? Because I wonder.
My first thought is actually more about the future of Ranger Suarez, not Taijuan. They know Taijuan is a sunk cost. But Ranger is not. He has one more year. He's arbitration eligible year 3 next year, I believe.
It definitely makes you wonder.
And Christopher Sanchez already signed his extension.
Right,
Ranger hasn't. They say they want to.
I don't know how you let Ranger go after this.
I don't.
I do.
But like that's the only thing that would make sense to me is if they like Crochet more than Ranger.
How do you like Crochet
and they bring
more than
Crochet in because he's under control for a couple more years and let Ranger go or trade Ranger. Like this is where my mind went last
And it
night.
shouldn't have
None
to
of it
go
makes
here.
sense, Renee. Our pets' heads are falling off.
I know. Okay, so Jack Flaherty, I'm out on as well. He has a 3.13 ERA, 7-5 on
Really
the
good
season
year.
with
Yeah.
27 Ks. He is looking really good. He has that 1-year deal with the Tigers. He's got a .96 WHIP. He's strictly a starting pitcher, as you mentioned. So I'm out on him. I think if you were to bring in a starting pitcher, if it was a Garrett Crochet, who we have seen in roles as a bullpen arm and as a starting pitcher with a 3.07 ERA on the season, 157 Ks, he's 6-7 with a .97 WHIP. He is a guy that might be able to fill the role that you wanted Spencer Turnbull to have, of being a guy that can fluctuate between the two. If needed, you can slot him into the starting pitching rotation. If needed, he can also be a bullpen arm, which technically could solve a couple problems because you can get a bullpen arm and you can get a guy that, if you have like right now, Taijuan Walker goes down, Spencer Turnbull goes down, you have to rely on Tyler Phillips. That instead could be Garrett Crochet. So I think from that sense, maybe it's not like
But he's
I'm
going to
trying
cost
not to go to Ranger Suarez, but it's hard because Garrett is not a cheap person to bring in. But maybe that means they're willing to push the chips in. You bring in a guy that can give you a little bit of both. Prospects, that means some of them are out the door, and you now get a 6'6", 25-year-old ready now, bullpen arm and starting pitching, which is a 2-for-1. That's like a BOGO deal, but it's a very expensive BOGO deal.
Yeah, it's probably going to cost you Abel
so
and
I think
Kaba
from a
and
tactical
Crawford,
standpoint,
something like that.
Sure, because I do like the idea of actually bringing a guy that can fit multiple roles, but it absolutely is going to cost you. So this is very surprising. I think it might show us that the Phillies are doing a little bit more and more active than or more willing to push the chips in than we have even expected on our end.
I think it's a smokescreen. Tyler, I'd love to get your thoughts on this.
I don't think.
Can you show yourself?
Yes,
Oz,
give me.
where are you? Where's that voice coming from? There he is. Hi, Tyler.
So I do think that there is merit to the Phillies potentially acquiring a starting pitcher. And the reason being, I think that
one
they
or the other, or do both make sense?
Well, I'm not entirely, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. I'm not entirely sure how many chips they're going to push in for a starter, but I do think there's plausibility to a starter because of a max amount of innings. You guys have talked about it plenty. Ranger Suarez is on pace to shatter his innings limit.
So is Crochet, yeah.
Christopher Sanchez is also going to throw more innings than he ever has as a professional as well. You are still in a fluctuating space with your fifth starter, whether it be Tyler Phillips, Taijuan Walker, when or if Spencer Turnbull returns, and I don't know what
I'm not counting on that.
I wouldn't put a whole lot of eggs in that basket. But you have a fluctuating 5 plus 2 guys who are pitching extremely well, but have not been stretched out for 180, 190 innings pitched in the course of their professional career. I would not be stunned if the Phillies do inquire about starting pitching depth. I don't know to what capacity. I'm pretty sure
those are top of the market guys.
That's the thing. Right. They're like
That's
the
what
top
I don't understand. If
guys.
you're talking about bringing in a Michael Lorenzen, like somebody low level that's there to eat innings in August and September for you, that I understand. Going after the 2 top of the market guys with arguably, a top 3 staff this year, I just think there's better allocation of assets to spend elsewhere.
So I will say this. I don't know to what capacity that they acquire a starter. If Garrett Crochet is a target that they do which I think most teams like a Garrett Crochet because of the fact that what you guys just laid out. He's been tremendous as a starter this year. He has bullpen experience. I have said since April that if a team were to acquire Garrett Crochet for this season, I'm not going to go any further than that because I think that he has proven he is a starting pitcher in this league. If a team were to acquire Garrett Crochet for this season, I think that they would monitor his innings very, very carefully, and he would become a weapon type of a pitcher. And what I mean by a weapon is
deploy him all anywhere.
He is basically what Ranger Suarez was to you in the 2022 postseason. He's going to start games,
sure,
but in a must-need get 3 outs, especially against a left-handed heavy lineup, Garrett Crochet makes a ton of sense. His cutter's been super effective. He's been really good with the fastball. So do I believe Garrett Crochet is a player the Phillies will acquire? I do not. Would I be stunned if the Phillies end up acquiring a starting pitcher? No, I would not. I think that they will end up acquiring somebody who can throw a bulk of it. We're talking about the bulk pitcher, right? You have the opener and then the guy that's the bulk guy. I don't mean in that sense where you're going to find a starter or a guy who's not going to be a starter. But I would not be stunned in the slightest that they acquire somebody who is of starting pitching caliber quality, because they are a little bit stretched thin with max innings coming up, with guys that have they're still kind of in a turnover rate with their fifth starter.
But is that more important to you than an outfield bat or another bullpen piece?
They need an outfielder, but if you have the ability to bring in a guy that can fill both roles, I actually hadn't been thinking about a starting pitcher, but we have been talking so much about the amount of innings that these guys have pitched. Ranger, Christopher Sanchez, Jose Alvarado, Orion Kerkering, throughout the pitching staff, you can point to bullpen arms and starting pitchers that are reaching their career highs. There's no guarantee, as much as we love how well Ranger and Christopher Sanchez, for instance, have been pitching, or Orion's been pitching so well. We don't know that they can maintain this because we haven't seen them do it. We've seen Aaron Nola. We've seen Zach Wheeler. We don't know that they can do it the entire remainder of the season into the playoffs. So to have the ability to have a Garrett Crochet come in, again, I don't like Jack Flaherty just because he's strictly a starting pitcher. I like Crochet more, even though they're both going to cost you, because
Flaherty's going to cost you much less because he's only a rental.
But if you need to go to a 6-man rotation, if you need to bring somebody in, let's say Ranger, someone picks up a knock, you have him there, and that's a much better option than a Tyler Phillips, Michael Mercado, whoever else you're calling up.
But it's all about the playoffs.
And that's the thing. I
understand your point. Crochet can be a weapon for you, but is Jack Flaherty necessarily better than Christopher Sanchez this year? He might have more overpowering stuff. He might have better K rates per 9. But Christopher Sanchez, and I know your point about innings is fair, but is Jack Flaherty, let's just pretend that he's the guy. Is he necessarily better than Ranger and Christopher Sanchez?
No, and that's why I'm not. If you're going for a starting pitcher, in my opinion, it has to be a guy that can also slot into the bullpen.
Well,
you should not bring in a traditional starting pitcher because you don't need that.
He has 2 more years of control. He's arbitration year 2 eligible, Crochet. So you have him for 2 more years at a very cheap number, which means he's going to cost you a lot. You're probably talking, because a lot of teams are going to want Garrett Crochet, you're probably talking 3 of your top 10 prospects.
But that's the thing with the White Sox. They're going to want. They're in a build mode. It's a mess right now. They would be open to taking multiple prospects. You get him from the White Sox. I know people are asking about Spencer Turnbull. Ray's asking in the chat about him as a multiple inning reliever. We don't know when he's going to be back. It's late August, and he's already been so injury bitten in his career and had so many injuries. We're not relying on and hoping that Spencer Turnbull comes back. That's, I think, what I like about this even rumor. It shows the Phillies are being a little bit more aggressive.
I think it's
and that they're actually going out. If you can bring in a Luis Robert and a Garrett Crochet and you lose a lot of prospects from it, but you bolster this team to be a absolute win now team, you're not going in on that deal?
So, no, because I'd rather have a left fielder or outfielder with some pop. I'd rather have a
okay. You bring in an outfielder.
All right, so say we're talking about trading 3 of our top 10 prospects. I'd rather spend those 3 prospects going for one of the outfielders and a bullpen arm than Garrett Crochet.
Send all the prospects except Andrew Painter. Bring him in.
Don't you dare touch Aiden Miller.
and Aiden, I'm sorry. Send all the look. Justin Crawford's playing really well lately. He's increasing his stock tremendously. If it requires you making some moves, Johan Rojas, some prospects, whoever it is, and you bring in a guy that can slide into the bullpen and be a starting pitcher plus an outfielder, I'd rather have Tanner Scott too.
So smokescreen. So you're with me.
Go.
So Tanner Scott and Randy Arozarena, come on down. You are Philadelphia Phillies in 6 days. Look, I just think
I'm all for it. Bring any of them in. Tanner Scott, Garrett Crochet.
Do they help the Phillies?
Randy,
yes, absolutely.
Luis, bring them in.
But there's other bigger areas of need, in my opinion. It doesn't pass my smell test. To me, this feels like a smokescreen for maybe something else.
I'm not going to lie. I'm a little nervous with the starting pitching with Ranger, especially Christopher.
Ranger's fine.
He hasn't.
He's fine.
I don't want to say the words. I don't want to jinx him, but it's a long season. It's a long season.
He's fine. He's fine. Don't worry about my sweet boy. Now, I think it was Jeff Kerr put this out yesterday. Now, the White Sox apparently have been having a lot of scouts at Phillies minor league games over the past several weeks.
They're looking to make a deal
They're
with the
scouting
Phillies.
everybody.
Yeah, they are scouting everybody, to your point. But I would imagine that means the Phillies have called also several times.
I'm sure that they have. Dave
To
Dombrowski's always on the phone.
Yeah.
He's calling somebody.
Get Lou Bob, not Garrett Crochet.
He needs to call us.
So
we got some insight.
really quickly, just to wrap up that Garrett Crochet conversation, do I believe that they acquire Garrett Crochet? I do not.
Yes.
Would I be absolutely thrilled if they did acquire Garrett Crochet? 100%.
So what's your playoff starting rotation if Garrett Crochet is here?
It's probably
Obviously Wheeler, Nola, 1-2.
and then I would probably think about Crochet at 3.
When has he pitched as a bullpen arm? What's his numbers as a bullpen arm?
Well, his first 2 years
last
in
year,
the league.
last year he was
He
limited
This
to
is
like
his first year as a starter.
Last year he was limited to 13 outings, but the year prior he had 54 appearances. He threw
That's the other
54
thing.
innings, 60 some odd strikeouts in 50 games. Listen, I think that
He's a good pitcher.
Really talking about going all in on starting pitching if you are, and that's why I'm telling you, I think that would I love to see it? Of course, I think he's really just scratching the surface of his skill set as a starter. But I really don't believe that is where their allocation of resources is going to go.
Me either.
But I think I would be thrilled if they make the move.
Look, he's a great pitcher. He's going to help the Phillies if he ends up here. I just don't think it's the realistic version of what's going to happen. A lot of people in the chat are talking about it. Steve Garrison says, just give Painter for Mason Miller straight up. No Tanner Scott,
No, thank
plus
you.
Crochet and Robert Jr. all in. Look,
They have to bring in an outfielder. They have to bring in a honestly, the better and the more expensive option is the outfield that you have to spend for. But I'm okay with just push all in.
Part of this, like part
in.
of building the best record in baseball and having a 9-game lead is that like you don't have to sweat a starting pitcher in August and early September.
You shouldn't.
Like I'd rather just call up a Michael Mercado and give him a couple starts.
Yeah, because come the playoffs, you're not going to need that.
Like you're winning the NL East. There's no way the Phillies don't win the NL East. I mean, sure you want to play for that bye, but like I don't know. I find that confusing. We're 6 days away from the MLB trade deadline, and don't forget next Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Renee, Tyler, and myself. 5 to 7. I thought it was 4
5
to
to
6.
7.
5 to is
well, you were going on Central Time. Clearly, it's all fine.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I'm running on Central Time. 5 to 7. How about that? At Billy Murphy Saloon in East Falls. We'll be set up there. We're going to have some memorabilia to give away. We're going to be giving away tickets to Phillies games. And, of course, we'll have some great Miller Lite specials for you. So if you can make it, go to our events tab on allphly.com and just RSVP for free. It won't cost you nothing. Billy Murphy's Irish Saloon, an absolute bar institution of Philadelphia. So we hope to see some of you out there next Tuesday for the MLB trade deadline day. And we can break down where Garrett Crochet goes and where Lou Bob and Randy Arozarena and Pete Fairbanks and Tanner Scott and all these guys get moved to. But there's no doubt the Phillies are going to improve their team, so it should be a fun time with us. All right, Renee, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for us. Now you get the Cleveland Guardians coming up next, who is a very good baseball team. The way the pitchers are going to transpire here, Christopher Sanchez versus Ben Lively tomorrow. 6:40 game. Then you get former Philly Carlos Carrasco.
By the way, I cannot believe that is a factual statement in July of 2024 that you just said versus Ben Lively. Like what? Are we in an alternate timeline?
Well, Carlos Carrasco gets the ball next for the Guardians, former Philly.
And then wrapping up the series will be Randy Wolf.
Yeah, I know,
like,
right?
What are we doing?
They have that guy.
This team's winning games.
This guy TBD is pitching for them.
He's at it again.
Yeah, he's back. But Carlos Carrasco versus Tyler Phillips, and then Ranger Suarez will get his chance on Sunday in the day game in Cleveland. And then you get the Yankees, and then the schedule gets tough. And
the one thing I will say, the Guardians have at times over the last couple of weeks struggled to score some runs. One run against the Tigers, get blanked against the Rays. They got blanked against the Rays twice, actually.
Has Stephen Kwan come back to earth at all, or is he still
a little bit? But I mean, he's still been pretty darn good. The Padres shut them out last Saturday. They scored 2 against the Tigers, 1 against the Padres the following day. They have struggled to score some runs out of the All-Star break as well. So maybe a little bit of life there.
And good thing, guys, we have all show tomorrow to talk about the Cleveland Guardians and look ahead and talk some more about the trade deadline and continue to talk through rumors and speculation. We'll also be able to look at some other trade targets for the Phillies because there's some other names out there that maybe we haven't spoken as much about that aren't as popular in conversation as like a Tanner Scott or Mason Miller. So we'll have plenty of opportunity when we're live tomorrow at 11 a.m. to continue to deep dive all this because unfortunately, the Phillies are frustrating right now, but fortunately the trade deadline is less than a week away and we get a chance to see these moves finally get made.
Now, I am going to leave you with this. Last night it came over me, a gut feeling.
Okay.
I do believe Dave Dombrowski is going to go for it.
Yeah. That's why I think these Garrett Crochet and Jack Flaherty rumors came out.
No, that's a smokescreen. Randy Rosarena, come on down.
I thought we were on the
Tanner
same page.
Scott, come on
did
down.
I misread? I thought I was picking up on what you're putting down.
No, I think
okay.
I do think they're going to go big.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, because they are on the doorstep of a World Series title, and if you don't go for it, it's real coward shit. So push all in, go for it, improve this team, and you're going to have a great chance to win the World Series.
Period.
That's how we'll leave you today. To everybody in here, let's hit that thumbs up or even thumbs down button. I don't care. Just show us a little love there. To everybody in here, there's too many of you to name and go through it, but you know who you are. We appreciate every single one of you for giving us some of your time. Phillies lose the series to the Twins. Back at it versus the Guardians tomorrow, 6 days away from the MLB trade deadline. This team will get better, folks. And we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.